Right. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we do apologize for the slight delay due to some technical difficulties from our end. My name is Emmanuel, and I am the marketing executive here at Innovative Solutions and your host for today's webinar. The title of our webinar for today is How Authentication Services Protect Companies from Fraudulent AI Threats, presented by Azleen and Ryan, both from Innovative Solutions and 𝘁𝗸𝗄𝘆 Technology, respectively. As an extra housekeeping before we get started, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them up in the question box in your Zoom control panel, and our moderators will bring them up during our Q&A session at the end. Okay. So our first presenter of the day is Azleen Shazwani, who is the Business Development Manager at Innovative. So a little bit about the company. Innovative Solutions is Malaysia's largest identity assurance provider and one of the fastest growing in ASEAN. Innovative helps digital businesses to prevent frauds by verifying and authenticating customers' identity through AI-based ID assurance systems, API access, and low-code platforms. Without further ado, the floor is yours, Azleen.
My name is Azleen. Welcome and very good morning to every one of you, ladies and gentlemen, to today's webinar with title How Authentication Protect Companies from Fraudulent AI Threats. So the small topic that I'm going to touch on today is face verification insecurity, fake representation, or a live human being. Okay. So in our increasingly digital world, where transactions and interactions are conducted online, the need for secure and reliable identity verification methods has become paramount, especially for financial institutions. And today, we will delve into the world of face verification and explore the insecurities surrounding it. So as you may know, face verification is a biometric technology that aims to confirm the identity of individuals by analyzing their facial features. And it has gained immense importance where the risks associated with identity fraud and unauthorized access are significantly high. And during this webinar, we will shed light on the evolving threat landscape surrounding face verification, and we will examine the techniques employed by fraudsters to manipulate face verification system and bypass security measures. It is important because by understanding these vulnerabilities, we can better appreciate the urgency and necessity for robust and secure face verification solutions. And as well, we will continue with advancement made in face verification technology. And as well, we will share insights on multi-factor authentication, MFA, liveness detection anti-spoofing technology, one-to-one facial verification, digital ID verification, and digital ID assurance. And our ultimate goal today, my ultimate goal is to equip you with knowledge about best practices and solutions that can ensure secure face verification process. And by the end of the webinar, I hope you will have a comprehensive understanding of the face of the challenges, advancements, and also the solutions in face verification that we can provide to you. Okay, move to the next one. Face verification. Yeah, so let's begin by understanding the tremendous importance of face verification in rapidly evolving digital landscape. And as our lives become increasingly intertwined with technology, the need for robust identity verification method has become more critical than ever. In the financial institution, such as bank sector, where sensitive transactions and confidential data are at stake, so ensuring the integrity of individuals' identities is a #1 priority. So this is where face verification, face technology comes to the forefront. So with face verification, it offers several key advantages. Okay, firstly here is enhanced security. So face verification, it adds an extra layer of security by validating an individual's identity through their facial verification or unique facial features. Thus, this significantly reduces the risk of impersonation and also fraudulent activities. Secondly, there is convenience user experience. So face verification, it provides a seamless and user-friendly experience because it is very easy and really very easy to access. Users can verify their identity simply by looking into a camera, like webcam, a phone camera, and thus it eliminates the need to remember complex passwords or answer numerous security questions, because I do understand. I have this problem as well. It's not easy for me to sometimes to remember my own password. Okay, I then move to remote accessibility. We are now working from home with the rise of remote work and digital services. The ability to verify identities remotely has become very crucial. So face verification, it allows individuals to verify their identities from anywhere, 24/7, with either using their smartphones or webcam or laptop. So secure transactions and interactions can be done regardless of physical location. Then the fourth one there, okay, fraud detection and prevention. So a face verification or face technology system is equipped with advanced algorithms behind it that can detect various fraud attempts, such as the use of photos, videos, or masks to deceive the system, while real-time liveness check is to ensure that the individual in front of camera is a live person and not a static image or video. Okay, so move to the next one. Okay, so face verification offers a robust, but it does not mean that it does not come without its vulnerabilities. So we do understand fraudsters and cyber criminals, they are always trying their best and constantly devising new techniques to exploit weaknesses in face verification systems. That's all that one is we all already know. So it is crucial for us to understand these threats to ensure that we can effectively counter the risk associated with it. So here are some key aspects of face verification threat landscape. First one here is presentation attacks. So this is one of the primary threats to face verification. It involves the use of spoofing materials like photos, videos, masks, deep fake to trick the system into recognizing them as genuine faces. So second one is defect technology attack itself. So this is a manipulative video or image that combine artificial intelligence and machine learning to create highly realistic representations. Adversarial attack. So this one, it involves exploiting the vulnerabilities in machine learning algorithms by making modifications to facial features. So the attackers can trick the system into misclassifying the fraudulent attempts, and data breach and identity theft. So in the event of data breach, the stored facial data could fall into the wrong hands. So this can lead identity theft and authorize access to sensitive information. Okay, next I will touch on the best practices and solutions that can help us to ensure secure and reliable identity verification processes. So here are some key recommendations. Start with one-to-one facial verification, liveness detection anti-spoofing, multi-factor authentication, MFA, digital ID verification, and also digital ID assurance. So I will go one by one. Okay, one-to-one face verification, or better known as OK Face here by Innovative Solutions. So it is one-to-one face verification when we require two images to be provided as input. One is the reference image of a person, and another one is a prop image, which also known as verification image. So it is a process of comparing that two facial image to determine whether that pictures belongs to the same individual or not. So it comes with a similarity score. So if the similarity score exceeds a predefined threshold, right, example that we set at 75%, so the result is 80, for example. So it indicates that the faces are likely to belong to the same person, or it indicates that the verification process is positive or succeeds. And on the other hand, if the similarity score falls below the threshold, predefined threshold score, so it suggests that the faces does not belong to the same individual and the verification failed or negative. Okay. Second one here is liveness detection anti-spoofing. So this is a critical component of secure face verification. Yeah. So at Innovative, we have a OKLive component to ensure that the subject in front of the camera is a live person. So it is built on CNN, convolutional neural network technology, and effectively prevents spoofing attack from face presented as photo, still portrait displayed from screen, animated face, talking head, deepfake created from software, and also a printed mask. The third one is multi-factor authentication. So by implementing this MFA, multi-factor authentication alongside with face verifications, it adds an extra layer of security. And this MFA can be effectively applied in conjunction with face verification, such as password or pins, face verification, and additional factors to further enhance the security like device binding, voice recognition, and also one-time password. Okay, the fourth is digital ID verification, or better known as eKYC, or electronic know your customer. So our eKYC, called as 𝘁 eKYC, made of 4 components. Start with OKID, OKLive, OKFace, and OKDrop. OKID is optical character recognition, and also you also use facial inside it. OKLive is liveness detection, and OKFace is one-to-one comparison. And then we move to OKDrop, which is an ID document verification. So we verify the person, also verify the identity at the same time. And this is in API form. Digital ID assurance, or better known as SIDA. SIDA stands for Customer ID Assurance Data Layer. This one is actually, it is a living framework which provides a consolidated means. So it mitigates online identity fraud with the use of multi-layer authentication tools. The blue color there, as you can see, ID evidence collection, digital footprint analysis, biometric alert list, financial risk, AML, CFT credit, for example, proof of income and proof of address, device binding, and also biometric authentication. So all of these components, I will say, can be managed through a single platform in the form of SIDA. The framework, the most important is, the framework is expandable and customizable depending on the nature of the business. And the main goal of this framework is to make sure that the information provided by the customers is complete, accurate, and legitimate. So there are 5 layers in this SIDA framework. First one is the data layer, the orange color. So this is where the user's ID verification information, such as ID proof in transaction, customer due diligence, and other historical transaction related to customer's ID are securely stored. So example, whenever a customer registers for a new account, so personal details such as their facial features, their PII, like their name, their address, their IC number, their warga negara information, and also the identity cards itself will be captured and securely stored in the SIDA database. Okay, moving to the light orange color. So there are the 3 core of SIDA is ID proofing, customer due diligence, and also identity authentication. Okay, under the pillar of identity proofing, we have ID evidence, digital footprint analysis, and biometric alert list. So ID evidence collections relate to ID proofing, of which 𝘁𝗫𝘄𝘆 or must 𝘁𝗫𝘆 is a part of, which I had discussed it in the previous slide. We have 4 components, remember? OKID, OKFace, OKLive, and OKDoc. And then move to the next one. Digital footprint analysis is a way to check someone's online presence to ensure that the customer's authenticity. So this one we require to input email, also phone number. So we check whether this email and phone number are registered in any of the social platform or social media online, yeah. And biometric alert list. So this one focus on facial blacklisting to help to eliminate for an organization to on the possibility of onboarding a blacklisted customer, yeah. And then move to the second pillar, customer due diligence. We have financial risk check, yeah. I believe many of us here has already familiar with AML, what is credit check, all that. So I will move to the next one, which is income and address proofing. So these actually are documents to confirm a person's earning and where they live. Okay, so because inside the income and also the utility bills stated there, their info on the address, for example, right? So these documents are provided during the process of signing up or registration, customer onboarding, and the systems are able to check if these documents match the person's information. So example, they claim that they live here inside Puchong, example. So they need to submit the utility bills as a proof that they actually live at Puchong. That one is just one of the example. And also this component helps to verify if the person is really who they claim to be. Okay, move to the third pillar, identity authentication. We have device binding and biometric authentication. So device binding works where smart devices, your phones, yeah, can be used to authorize transactions. Yeah, and biometric authentication, referring to thumbprint devices at the branch or booth. Okay. Okay, then move to this next layer is the green color, or also called as channel layer. So at Innovative Solutions, we use APIs and low-code process automation known as Joget workflow to bridge the communications between end consumers, business clients, and also our servers. Okay, the top layer is portal access layer. So this one is it provides access to administer and operate a Masida. So it is an interactive system which is used to manage our eKYC solutions, and this layer allows admin to review and perform audit or making any necessary manual adjustment whenever necessary to the eKYC result. Okay, move to the next slide. Okay, why choose Innovative? Because at Innovative Solutions, we offer comprehensive face verification solution that incorporates these best practices. And our solutions combines advanced algorithms, liveness detection measures, continuous system enhancement to provide secure and reliable identity verification. We always update our APIs, our solution, our software from time to time, because the fraudster, they become genius and genius from day to day. Yeah? So we need to find the best way to mitigate the fraud. And we have extensive identity assurance solution, Masida. Yeah. So if you have any questions or you want to have further discussion on what we can offer to your company, and if you have any anything that you want to talk to us, so do reach out to us. You can email to sales@innovative.com, or please visit to our website at www.innovative.com. So you can have more, you can learn more and also discuss how our solution can address to your specific needs. Okay, thank you for your attention. Over to you, Iman.
All right. Thank you, Azlin. That was a very insightful presentation. Safe to say that businesses, no matter big or small, they are very susceptible to dangers of identity theft. However, there are preventable solutions to help. All right, moving on. We have our next presenter, Ryan, who is the Vice President of Business Operations and Strategy at 𝘁𝗸𝗄𝘆 Technology. 𝘁𝗸𝗄𝘆 is one of Southeast Asia's leading regional players in the field of digital security solutions with a core focus in software licensing protection, two-factor authentication, advanced identity and access management, public key infrastructure solutions, and cryptography. All right, over to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Yes, all right. Well, once again, good morning. Good morning, everyone, for joining this webinar. And my name is Ryan. I'm from 𝘁𝗸𝗄𝘆, as introduced by Emmanuel. Today, I think, very briefly, we'd like to touch on some of the topics that have been on everyone's mind, right? How do you protect your business? How do you protect your operations from these rising threats that we face around the world today? Specifically, what I would like to share a little bit about it's on the role that authentication services like as multi-factor authentication and FIDO2 authentication, how these technologies can play a role to protect your business and your companies. Hopefully, by the end of this presentation, you will have an idea and an understanding of how these technologies work and how you can start to explore implementing this to safeguard your business and your infrastructure. All right. So let's begin by looking at the concept of these threats that we face today. And I think Azlin, my colleague earlier, did shed some light into some of these things, particularly in terms of how AI systems or AI can be exploited for malicious purposes, right? And these threats can take place in different forms, right? So as pointed out by Azlin earlier, it could be in the form of deepfakes, right? How deepfakes can be used to manipulate audio, video, images, right? To deceive information systems or even individuals like us, and that can be used as a form of social engineering or social attacks, right? And then likewise as well, AI-powered phishing, right? How AI can use sophisticated algorithms to craft convincing emails or communications, letters, and so on to dupe or mislead unsuspecting users into disclosing sensitive information that they should not be sharing with other parties, right? Other forms of adversarial attacks, such as using these sophisticated machine learning models to manipulate behavior or cause operators or users to make incorrect decisions, right? So all these are some of the threats that's present in the world today, and it obviously poses security risk, very, very significant risk to companies, potentially leading to financial losses, reputational damage, legal repercussions, and so on and so forth. So to mitigate these risks, we believe that robust authentication services plays a very key role in forming a defense layer for your systems. Not least of which, of course, is in the area of authenticating and identifying these users and whether or not to allow them access into your infrastructure, and how to protect your systems and data from these users, right? So if we look at authentication services, so obviously authentication services forms the first line of defense against all attacks, right? And that's typically because users need to authenticate themselves before being able to access your systems and your data. All right. The authentication platform is used to verify the identity, and also at the same time, we are also very well aware that traditional username and passwords have limitation, right, when it comes to protecting these access. I'm trying to look at some data here. So, for example, many firms have run survey results globally, and generally speaking, about 60% of users actually reuse passwords or login credentials across multiple systems, multiple accounts and websites, right? So that itself is a vulnerability. We've also found that up to 90% of organizations unknowingly have the credentials up for sale, and that's something I think that's not alien to us, I suppose. I think we've seen in the past few years where through various data breaches, whether it's public sector data or private sector data, we discovered that our credentials and our information has been put up for sale, right, to the highest bidder, right? So at the same time, we've also find that just by implementing a very simple second factor authentication is almost able to help to stem some of these data breaches, right? That 100% of automated bot attacks can be stopped by just introducing a second factor authentication code, whether it's through your SMS PIN or an email PIN. And as much as 76% of targeted attacks can be avoided by using this kind of second factor authentication. And as high as 80% of hacking related data breaches are a result of weak or stolen passwords, or even worse, default passwords that will never change on the platform, right? So that's where we see that authentication services forms a very key role in preventing these kind of attacks. I think we're all generally familiar with the concept of multi-factor authentication. And just to very quickly give a run through, and this is that multi-factor authentication, or MFA for short, right? It's a form of authentication that enhances your security by combining different factors to verify your identity. Typically, we're talking about three categories, right? Something that which is most of the time a password or a PIN. Something that you have, whether it's a device or a token or smart card, or nowadays a mobile phone that you carry with you, or something that you are, which is a biometric characteristic, whether it's a fingerprint, facial recognition, voice print, and so on and so forth. So the concept behind this is that by layering or presenting multiple factors during the authentication process provides a stronger security through the whole process and reduces the risk of account compromise. Okay. So what are some of the benefits? I think like what we touched on is that by having additional layers of protection, even one factor is compromised, the attacker will still need to bypass other factors that you have, right? Whether it's a device or whether it's a biometric authentication, to be able to bypass all these security layers that we have put in place to access the system. Secondly, mitigates the risk of account compromise resulting from stolen passwords or weak passwords, right? By introducing additional factors, additional layers of security, so your reliance on password alone is reduced. And then thirdly, with MFA, it is able to provide a better user experience over a traditional username password access, right? So with some of the modern authentication solutions, we find that users can seamlessly authenticate themselves, just using your facial recognition and so on, and you don't have to remember complex passwords, right? So that in itself provides a seamless experience for your users, and it gives them a much smoother and faster way to access. The second thing that I want to talk about today is something that's maybe relatively new, what we call FIDO authentication. FIDO it's an open standard that's created by a global working group known as the FIDO Alliance, or in full, it's the Fast Identity Online, right? So who's part of this alliance? It's really all the some of the largest tech giants in the world today, right? So giants like Google, Apple, Microsoft, Visa, Bank of America, and so on and so forth are all part of this alliance. And the concept behind this is to create an open standard for authentication that is more secure and more seamless for everyone. Right, and I've actually compiled some of these news clippings or headlines, right, that shows that all these tech giants are actually adopting this FIDO standard and essentially going passwordless, right? And the mission, as in one of the headlines here, is to try to kill off passwords. And the reason for this is because we have, like we've discussed earlier, passwords typically are the weakest link within the whole chain, right? Because most of the time we either reuse passwords or reuse weak passwords. So the concept behind this is that by using an alternate form of authentication, by removing the password, it removes a vulnerability that hackers are able to target. In fact, as pointed out here, Apple, Google, and Microsoft are fully committed to roll out this FIDO standard across all their services, and to use FIDO as the default login method, right, over username and passwords. So FIDO is typically implemented in using these components called the Web Authentication and CTAP, or Client to Authenticator protocol. So web authentication is really a web standard that enables passwordless authentication, right? So it allows your users to authenticate to web applications using public key cryptography credentials instead of relying on passwords, right? With web authentication, your users can utilize devices such as a USB token, security key, biometric sensors, or even mobile phones, right, to authenticate themselves. And that provides a high level of security and improves user experience by eliminating the need for passwords. The second component, or that's known as the Client to Authenticator protocol, essentially serves as the communication protocol between the device and the authenticator, right? So it ensures the secure communication between both endpoints and maintains the integrity of the transaction, of the whole authentication transaction, right? So CTAP supports various different authenticator types, whether it's USB or NFC keys, sensors, facial recognition cameras, mobile devices, and so on. So it works together hand in hand with the Web Authentication protocol to establish a secure and reliable authentication process, right? So those are some of the technicalities. And what are the benefits? So the benefits that we see is number one, from a security perspective, FIDO2 provides stronger security because you eliminate the reliance on passwords, right? So it reduces the risk of password-related attacks, credential theft, phishing, and so on and so forth, right? And because each login credential is unique across each website or each application, and it's all stored on device, right? So in the event that one credential is compromised, your other services, your other websites, your other accounts, other websites are not compromised as a result of this. Okay, it's convenient because it's using cryptographic login credentials using whether it's your mobile phone or other devices, right? So it's seamless, and it allows a consumer to choose which device best fits their need for this authentication. It protects against phishing attacks, again, because it uses public key PKI cryptography. So the key pairs and so on and so forth are unique and stored using highly secure elements on the device, right? So it protects the privacy of the data. And finally, it is scalable because all these are open standards and ensures interoperability between various devices and platforms. So that makes it a very flexible and future-proof solution. And again, as alluded to in the in the news clippings I shared earlier, this is a standard that's being adopted by some of the largest tech companies in the world. So definitely any organization, any company that's going on to FIDO2 authentication is not doing this alone. All right. So how do you implement authentication services, right? With using MFA and FIDO, right? So I think first and foremost is to identify the infrastructure, the current IT infrastructure that you have within your organization, and then start to identify what are some of the weaknesses and vulnerabilities that you have within this infrastructure that you have, and whether MFA and FIDO can play a role within this whole process. All right. Number two is to then integrate these solutions as part of your authentication process, requiring users to provide multiple factors for authentication, start mapping out a roadmap for them to switch over to FIDO, for example, and then eventually turning off the whole password authentication as part of the process, or only using that as a fallback mechanism. Okay. So that's the third point, right? So adopting FIDO2 standards, and then to start encouraging passwordless authentication. And then I think last but not least is to also educate users on the benefits of these technologies, why you're using this within the organization, and the proper usage for both MFA and FIDO, right? So to ensure smooth transition and to ensure user adoption across the board. Wanted to share with you some snippets from an organization that has adopted FIDO2, and that's Yahoo Japan. So Yahoo Japan, it's probably one of the largest media companies in Japan, right? So they don't just do news search and so on. So they do a lot of e-commerce, emails, and so on and so forth. I believe there's probably over 50 million users logging into Yahoo Japan on a monthly basis, and because they transact a lot of financial processes within their portal, so security is very important for them. So over the years, they've experienced a lot of attacks on their user accounts, and has also led to users losing access to their accounts, right? And they've actually found that majority of these were related to passwords that they use during the authentication process. So hence, they joined the FIDO Alliance and decided to adopt FIDO for their own authentication service. Right, so as you can see here, some of the data points that they have within their user survey, right? So 50% use the same user ID and password on 6 or more sites, right? And 60% are reusing the same passwords across multiple sites, multiple services, right? And they're using password as the main form of login. So when you have 60% of users repeating the same passwords, then that opens a whole can of worms, and that is a very large attack surface for a malicious actor to use. All right. Yeah, so that's where they embarked on a process to introduce FIDO authentication into their service. Okay. By going passwordless, all right, they were able to improve user experience. So as you can see here, 25% decrease in requests for forgotten credentials. All right, and it is relatively seamless, right? So 74% of users succeed with FIDO authentication, right, versus 65% using SMS verification. And they also track the login process, right? So with FIDO2 login, it is almost 2.6 times faster than using their traditional username password login. So again, that provides a improved user experience for their customers, and without compromising or without reducing the security protection to their customers and to their users. Okay. So today, they've already activated more than 30 million of their users on FIDO and have already disabled password logins, right? So then that's where you can see the adoption of this authentication method within the user base that they have in Yahoo Japan. All right. So that's a snapshot in terms of a large company that has adopted FIDO. I think there's many more around the world today. And then, if you were to explore implementing multi-factor authentication or FIDO2 authentication, we have a solution for you. So in 𝘁�้𝗄𝘆𝑚etric, we have this platform that we call CenterGate Cloud. CenterGate stands for Centralized Authentication Gateway. It is it is either a cloud-based or on-premise solution that you can implement within your organization for multi-factor authentication, for FIDO2 authentication or single sign-on needs, right? So all this is built on a highly secure, highly robust platform that is certified by the relevant certifying authorities. In fact, I think we are one of the first such FIDO solutions in Southeast Asia to receive that recognition from FIDO Alliance. Some of the key features that we have, obviously, like I mentioned, multi-factor authentication through various different channels and form factors. We have what we call adaptive authentication, which is a machine learning-based tool that is able to identify the risk level of all these incoming authentication requests and able to do a step-up authentication if needed. So based on location, based on transaction type, based on device, and so on and so forth. And of course, because we've integrated the FIDO2 server into the platform, we are able to perform passwordless authentication as well. All right. So let me just end by sharing with you some of the best practices when it comes to implementing MFA and FIDO. So number one, I think as in all cases, right, to regularly update and patch your systems to address any potential vulnerability that is inherent within the software. Secondly, to ensure that you enforce strong password policies, right? So if you're still on passwords, then make sure that these passwords are not weak password. It has to be strong passwords that are hard to guess. And then, of course, the option to either then start enforcing multi-factor authentication or even looking at FIDO2 authentication to be more secure. And then, in IT, it's all about change management. It's all about educating your users, educating them about the importance of security, and then how to train and get your users on board with you on this journey. And then, of course, last but not least, is to monitor and analyze your logs, your data, right, to detect and respond to any suspicious activities. All right. So yeah. So in conclusion, I think it's essential we protect your infrastructure from all these threats, and we've shared with you some of the potential technologies that you can explore to use within your organization to protect yourself. That's multi-factor authentication, that's FIDO, and how these can play a role to enhance your security and mitigate risk and to provide a seamless user experience. Right. For more information, do feel free to reach out to us at our email, sales@𝘁�ဍmetric.com, or visit our website, 𝘁𝗁metric.com or centergatecloud.com to get more information about our products, our services, or even just to get more information about some of the use cases that we shared earlier. All right. Thank you very much once again, and I'd like to pass the floor back to Emmanuel. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ryan, for the informative presentation. I believe that our audiences definitely benefited from that and understand why digital security is so much more important in this age. As promised, we will go ahead and take some questions in for now. Just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions in the question box in your control panel. It seems like we have a few questions ready to go. The first one would be for Azlin. The question is, how does the digital footprint analysis work?
Okay. So how does the digital footprint works? Okay. So for that, digital footprint works, or we call that as DFA, digital footprint analysis. It requires two input. One is mobile number, and second one is email. So with these two input, the DFA, digital footprint analysis, will check if the mobile number and email has been used or registered for any online platform. And then it will perform an analysis on the online platforms are registered with these email and mobile numbers. Then the result of the analysis will be written. And then also we do have the recommended scorecard metrics to categorize the submission of the email and phone numbers, whether it is in a clear category, cautious category, or suspicious. Same like eKYC if you are familiar with it. Yeah. I hope I answered the questions.
All right. Okay. So the next one is actually for Ryan. So for Ryan, it asks how multi-factor authentication, MFA, enhance security compared to traditional username and password authentication?
Yeah, so I think that's a few things here, right? So I think based on the data that we shared earlier, generally, number one, people tend to reuse their passwords across multiple sites. So that already is one risk. And then secondly, most of the time, the passwords that we use would be very simple passwords that may be easy to guess, or maybe even open to what we call brute force attacks, right? So by having a multi-factor authentication in place, it provides an additional layer of security, that is harder to compromise compared to a traditional username password combination, right? So for example, again, like we mentioned, multi-factor authentication combines three things, right? So what you know, which is a password, what you have, your token, your device, and so on and so forth, or who you are, which is a biometric, whether it's your thumbprint, whether it's your facial ID, and so on and so forth. So with combining all these different factors, it significantly reduces the risk of unauthorized access and compromise, right? So even if one factor is compromised, so let's say someone has been able to steal your username and password, they'll still need something else, whether it's a device or token, or maybe even your biometric itself, to be able to bypass this authentication and gain access into the system. So that's generally how it works, and how we layer all these things together.
Okay, all right. All right, so the next question will be for Azlin again. So what are the costs associated with digital footprint and digital ID assurance?
The cost.
Yeah, the cost
Okay,
associated with digital footprint and digital ID assurance. Yeah.
Okay, so our products are modularized, I would say. So it depends on the requirements or your business needs. So I would suggest let's sit and discuss, and at least let me know what are your high-level requirements, so that I can see and try to come up with a cost to it, or at least a ballpark according to your needs. Yeah. So please do email to me. At either you can go to sales@innovative.com, or you can email straight to me, Azleen, AZLEEN @innovative.com.
All right. Okay, so we have a few more questions as well. So this one for Ryan. So Ryan, what are the benefits of implementing FIDO2 authentication for our company?
Right. So I think with FIDO, the key thing is going back to security, right? So we talked about username passwords. We talked about multi-factor authentication. So again, passwords are typically the weakest link in the whole chain, right? So with FIDO2, what it does is that it removes the password completely from the whole process, and it uses strong cryptographic keys that store on the device for authentication. So that itself removes a vulnerability point that is open to phishing or credential theft and so on and so forth. So that's one. Number two, with password authentication, the whole user experience is actually pretty simple, right? So you just key your username or your credentials into an application or website, and then authenticate yourself on device, whether it's thumbprint, whether it's facial ID, and then once that goes through, you're already in. So that, like I pointed out in the Yahoo Japan case study, right? So with FIDO2 authentication, the whole login process was shortened 2.6 times. I think from 20 over seconds to about 8 seconds or less, right? Compared to other methods using FIDO. Then we talk about all these threats coming from AI and so on. So with FIDO, that offers another layer of robust protection against such threats because of the strong cryptography that's being used in this technology and how it is being stored on device, right? So it's not something that is centralized on any server. It's with the user itself, and because the fact that it is an open standard, so it is interoperable and future-proof, right? So that's something that it's relatively easy to implement across all applications and websites, and something that's very scalable for organizations to adopt.
All right. Okay, so we have a couple more questions here. So these two questions are actually for Azlin, but I'll start off with the first one. So how can 𝘁𝗀𝘀 verify the income and address?
Okay, so thanks for the questions. Very good question. So for income and address verification, so we require two documents here. One is the KWSP statement, which it tells you and stated the income of a person. And secondly, the utility bills, such as your electric bill or your water bill, okay? So inside that, we will extract the information of the income and also the address and compare with the 𝘁𝗀𝘀 result. Because from 𝘁𝗀𝘀, we also capture the address and also, of course, for income, we require them to key in their salary, for example. So the one is to prove that this person are being employed, okay, number one. And secondly, if the customer tell us that their house is here, so prove to us that your house is here. And also to act like we know that inside ID and RIC, not necessarily that one is an updated address. So you can upload that document to tell you that this is my second address or my mailing address, for example.
All right. So the second question is, Innovative has a biometric alert list. So does that mean Innovative will store all of my customers' data if I use Innovative's onboarding solution? And will it be shared among other people as well?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so for this one, so 𝘁𝗀𝘀 is the result is consists of multiple items, picture, facial, and the information of an ID. So after we do the processing, right, we return to the result and we will purge the data. Okay, so this biometric alert list is referring to, okay, because we experience that usually from telco side, the fraud attempt usually done by same group of people. Okay, so we take only their picture and store it in a database. So when you subscribe to that service, so once a new customer on board themselves, we take their picture only. We don't know who is that person, where they live, what are their NRIC. Just take the picture and then cross-check with the database if the result returned as positive. Okay, do remember that we do not say that this is a blacklisted person, but most likely this picture has done fraudulent attempt before this. And we share with other people, like I said, we are not sharing the personal identification information. We just cross-check the picture and we are not sharing the picture actually. We just return to the result with the positive or negative. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Feels like we've covered most of our questions. Are there any other questions? No. Okay. All right. So looks like we've covered most of our questions for today already. So is there anything else that both of you would want to add on before we wrap up? No. Okay. All right. Great. Looks like we've come to the end of the session. A big thank you to our presenters, Azlin and Ryan, for your presentations today, and a massive appreciation to our registered audiences for taking the time with us as well. To other audiences, please take note that we'll be sending out a follow-up email with the slides that were presented today. If you have any more inquiry regarding the solutions that can help you, feel free to drop us an email to sales@innovative.com or sales@𝘁𝗀𝘀metric.com. And if you enjoyed webinars such as this one, please be sure to follow both Innovative Solutions and 𝘁𝗀𝘀metric Technology on LinkedIn to get the latest updates regarding future events. Once again, thank you again for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.